But one of the greatest, sorry, it just popped into my head about probably one of the greatest video game titles based on a movie is Spider-Man 2 for the PS2.
Yes.
That is
My
that
balloon.
is an all-time.
I've lost my balloon. Yeah. Hello and welcome back to Dodge, Parry and Roll, your fortnightly Australian independent video game and existential crisis show. I'm your host. I'm standing today, Josh Vinnie, joined by my dear friend Vinnie. Vinnie, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. Actually, we can talk about that a little bit later, but yeah, I'm doing good for the most part. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. We're recording 25 minutes later than 35 minutes later than we usually would. I just had a what would you call it? A
Bit
robust
of a
tantrum by my oldest son who refuses to eat dinner. Man, let me tell you, like, these are the things I never thought I would have to experience. Like, I never really thought about being a father.
Yeah.
I still feel like a child,
well,
you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and then do you ever feel like, wow, what did our parents do? And, like, they must have just been just as clueless as we are.
Yeah. But they also had no hobbies. Like, I feel like my parents' generation, no, your parents are a little bit older than mine. Like, my dad has his hobby, right? The whole bodybuilding thing. The gym. But, I don't know. I mean, they weren't doing a podcast.
Yeah.
Were your parents podcasting?
They weren't gaming. No. God, no.
No. So, I'm sure they felt... It's funny because I have a distinct memory of my parents being the age that I am now, right? So I've got about my mum's in her early-ish, mid-ish 50s. I should probably kill me for saying her actual age. And I'm 32, right? So there's like, you know, they had me when they were like 19 or 20 or whatever.
Yeah,
so
that's wild. Like,
Yeah. So I have a distinct memory of like my dad at 33, for instance. For some reason, that age stuck to me in terms of like remembering him at that age. Which is, you know, I'm turning 32. And it was just, it's just crazy because I'm like, you were so old then.
Yeah.
That I don't...
But you feel so young now.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, right? And I'm like, you know, and I'm sitting here doing a video game podcast wearing a Final Fantasy 16 t-shirt and got a whole bunch of Power Rangers from you yesterday. So I'm like, something's not adding up here.
Yeah, I get it. Because I have a distinct memory of my dad having his friends over for tennis because they have a tennis court. Mm-hmm. And them playing tennis like it's nothing. I think he would have been about, let's see, it's a 30-year gap. He's 75 now. So, sorry, just doing maths in my head. He would have been about maybe 49, 48. He was in his 40s.
Your dad's 75, you said?
He's 76.
Wow.
76.
So he's 2 years younger than my nana.
So he would have been about 50-ish.
But you're the youngest.
Yeah, I'm the youngest. Yeah.
And I'm the oldest.
I'm the youngest. And I remember him having his friends over, and they just had like, my first sip of beer was on his lap. Had a VB around with all his friends, and in our like undercover area. But yeah, I just don't think I'm thinking about it now. Man, using your knees at 45, goddamn. I'm struggling using my knees at 30, 34. Yeah, that's how old I am.
Getting up there.
I was telling Josh yesterday, when I said in our last podcast that my knee was feeling pretty good, I have since dislocated my knee playing basketball. But it's back to feeling, I mean, I got it all checked out. No, it's not worse than what it was. It's still it's still bad, but it's not worse, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't, but it's feeling pretty good now, so I actually think I might play a game on Wednesday, but we'll see how we go. It's only been 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, you know, taking that risk.
Exactly.
Did I introduce the show? Have I done the whole video game existential crisis thing?
Yeah, you have.
I have. I'm doing a great job, clearly. Yeah. But thank you for joining us. If you haven't already, and you've stumbled upon us somehow, consider subscribing to the channel. We cover a wide array of topics. Last week we spoke about how we would armchair CEO / fix Xbox. We're hoping to do a similar one for the other two big publishers or first parties in PlayStation and Nintendo over the coming weeks / months. So if you're interested in kind of gaming discourse and some random life facts, consider subscribing. What else? I appeared last week on Friends of the Show, the Pop Culturist podcast, PlayStation podcast for the players. So check them out if you haven't already on YouTube and podcast feeds. That's For the Players, the Pop Culturist podcast. They're a PlayStation podcast that has been going on... Well, they're up to 435 episodes now. I think they're actually recording as we speak, because I do have them on Discord now. That's a long time. 435 episodes. But it was a really great chat. Their show's news-based and based on PlayStation, so I was very much at home talking to Ryan. So thank you so much for having me. Did feel a little weird not podcasting with you, Vinny.
Yeah. I mean, we've been doing it for how many years now?
On and off.
This podcast, on and off, about almost 10 years, if that. More, longer.
No, well, actually, you're right, because we've done this a few times in different iterations. It actually started whilst I was still living at home, in my bedroom. I don't know if you remember, we had the table set up there, and that was well over 10 years. But we've gone through multiple iterations, and we had different things. Life goes on, but yet we find ourselves back. So there's got to be something to that. I think it's a level of consistency.
It's delusion.
It's delusion. But so thank you so much for having me on the show. We're hoping to return the favour in a few weeks. I don't know if you ended up checking any of it out, Vinny, but it was good fun.
Yeah, you saw I was in the chat because they were live on Twitch, and I was tuning in and out and then back in again. Yeah,
so we had a really good time. So thank you again for having us on. But Vinny, let's not diddle daddle. Is that the right term?
Dilly-dallying?
Dilly-dally?
Yeah, it is. A little bit of both.
A little bit of both. I just noticed I haven't got my blur on, so you're seeing just random stuff.
An
easel.
I'm seeing an easel. Yep.
Seeing an easel.
Some books.
There's just a whole bunch of stuff going on in here. It's really a boring room. I think I eventually, I don't know. I kind of like the idea of a study with a dark wall. Like a really dark wall, and then you kind of balance it out with some natural colors, like some greens and some natural, like green is in plants, not in terms of like green paint or anything that's green, but balance it off with the wood, like a bit of a...
You're describing my future study.
Yeah. So, being a new house, you just kind of go with let's go with like a eggshell white. And I think our overall philosophy across the house is kind of like a Hampton-ish style. So we've got a lot of like the light colours, as you know, Vinny. But this is our home designer podcast. But and I did say let's stop dilly-dallying, and then I proceeded to dilly-dally. So that's great.
Yep.
Let's just jump straight into maybe the games we've been playing, Vinny. Unless you've got, if we need a tangent, you know what I mean. You know me. I'm always down to.
I know you love a good tangent, but. No, let's jump into the games we've been playing. I can start us off.
Yeah, go for it.
If you want? I've finished Skyward Sword for the most part, and it was actually right in the sweet spot of time because I actually checked the website how long to beat to see, because I played it with my girlfriend Sam, and me and her did the exact same thing where about 10 hours before we actually finished the game, or maybe 15 hours, I'm like, oh, good. We're on the last act. And then ever since that point, the last 15 hours of that game felt like it dragged on exponentially. But it was a fun game. Like, I know people don't rate that Zelda game as being either they put it... It's weird. It's weird. There's no middle ground for that. People either put it in their top 5 Zelda games or in their bottom 5. I've seen nothing but love and hate depending on opinion. I think it's pretty good. I wish I played it with the motion controls. I didn't realize till much later that the Joy-Cons act the same as the Wiimote and Nunchuck. But I was playing with the Pro Controller like an idiot. And it wasn't until I beat the very last boss, who is Ganon. Surprise, surprise. For every Zelda fan. I know. Crazy. Ganon is a final boss in a Zelda game. Unheard of.
Who would have thought?
But But yeah, I just took off the Switch controls and I'm like, I wonder. I went unclicked and just went bang, bang. I'm like, oh, you can do it exactly the same. And it did feel very intuitive for like the 30 seconds I played it. That would have been the way to play the game because that's how the game was designed. But
Motion gaming. What a time and place, right? I don't think I've played a game with motion controls in. I mean, like maybe besides like Nintendo, like tennis world championship and things like that, randomly. But yeah, what a time and place.
Nintendo has always been, well, not always. Nintendo has, if I'm playing a motion game in any era in this generation, at least, it's always going to be on a Nintendo console. I'm not playing anything else. But other than that, I actually stumbled across, I was on my Switch and I saw that.
I'm going to stop you for a second, Vinny. We're going to do something unprecedented, right?
Yeah, let's go.
I'm going to step away for a moment because Naomi needs something that's in the room. So pretend I'm here and tell me about this game.
I mean, can you hear me?
No, I won't be able to hear you. So,
all right, cool. I'll just give you the recap.
You can tell the audience, and then I'll
tell the audience.
All right, give me a second.
All right, perfect. So for the audience, I've actually started playing a new game, and I found it on the eShop, and it was $5, so $5 Australian, probably cheaper wherever who's listening and when. Josh grabbing the clothes horse out. But the game that I was playing is, and it was originally came out in 2003, I think, and it was designed specifically for the Apple Arcade, I think it was, and it's called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate. So it's an isometric roguelike game, action brawler. And for anyone who knows me, which is obviously not people, I love a good roguelike. Hades is one of my favorite games of all time, so I've been really enjoying playing. I've probably done 5 or 6 runs of this game of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate. Yeah, because it became available on the Switch, and I was like, well, I love a good roguelike. Yep, getting my rogue runs ready, preparing for Saros. That's coming out soon. So, but I just need something to time me over after playing Skyward Sword. Just needed like a little quick game. I didn't want to jump into a big story right away if I'm going to play Saros. But from what I'm liking to this game, it's a little clunky because it is made for, I think it was like the Apple Arcade originally. So there are some parts of it that's really clunky, but the character design is really, really nice. It's fully voice acted. The artwork is really, really good. And the gameplay mechanics are quite fun. So you can play as, there's more characters, but currently you play as the 4 Ninja Turtles, and each character feels very different. So it's the same premise in Hades where you pick up a new weapon and each run will just give that little bit of flavor. But the dialogue's quite good. Every character seems very true to their style. You got the, heroic, just leader in Leonardo, the hothead in Raph, the nerdy, quippy guy in Donatello, and then just the party dude in Michelangelo. And everyone's like, all the dialogue's pretty good. You go through certain bosses while you Leatherhead, Karai, Shredder, eventually some Utrons. Like, it's going through the entire story, the entire arc. But so far, I've done about maybe 6 or 7 runs through this game. I'm quite enjoying it. It's quite fun. Will I finish it? I don't know.
Was it expensive? I know
$5.
It's budget. Oh, $5. Wow, yeah.
Yeah, that's literally why I picked it up. I saw it because when this trailer dropped, it came out, I think, in May 2023.
Yep.
I can't remember
Definitely
exactly.
2023, because I've got it in front of me.
Yeah. And the trailer dropped, and I'm like, oh, damn, this looks cool. I was in my Hades era. I was like, oh, yeah, I'll definitely play this game. And then it said Xbox Arcade. Oh, sorry, not Xbox. Apple Arcade.
Apple Arcade.
I was like, well, never again.
Yeah.
But
I've heard good things. And like from a voice cast perspective, I was just having a look.
Oh, it's so good.
I remember there were some like heavy hitters in there. Roger Craig Smith playing Raphael, so Ezio and Sonic the Hedgehog himself, and then Yuri Lowenthal, who plays Peter Pan. Oh my goodness, Peter Parker from Marvel's Spider-Man game on PlayStation. So yeah, like a pretty, for what was essentially a phone game.
Yeah,
pretty good talent.
And if my initial review after playing for a couple of hours, if I had to give it anything, I'd probably give it about 7.5.
Yeah,
like pretty good enough to keep playing. And the best part about those roguelike games is you can just do one more run, 15, 20 minutes. You want to pick it up, and the fact that it's on Switch, and I can just put the game to sleep when I need it and pick it up later. That's quite fun.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen this game floating around. I've seen it recommended a few times. So,
I think it's $5 on all platforms. So even on PS5.
Yeah, yeah. No, but Switch, it definitely feels home on Switch. I agree. Yeah. I guess I'll jump in here.
Yeah, that's it. It's your turn.
My turn. So I've been playing a few things. So I have very much put Crimson Desert down. I did say that. Can't remember if it was on this show or the Pop Culturist, but I said that as soon as Pragmata was to come, Crimson Desert needs to...
Yeah, you told us.
Yeah.
You told the audience.
Needs to go down. So I've basically had my time split mainly with Pragmata, which I'll talk about in just a second, but I might actually start with Saint Slayer Spear of Sacrilege, is where I been spending a little bit of time. So for those who don't know, this is the new game out of Lilymo Studios. They're co-owned by Colin Moriarty, who's obviously the host of Sacred Symbols. This is his team, essentially. And the reason I'm playing it isn't the tie to Colin or anything like that. I actually haven't played a Lilymo game before, but I'm a big Castlevania fan, and this game very much looks and
like Castlevania.
Feels like the original NES Castlevania in terms of, you know, the knockback. The one thing that all the original Castlevania game had, that is, I guess, infamous if you haven't played those games before or were not from that era, is a stiffness to the controls in terms of you got to commit to a jump. Once you've hit that button, there isn't you're not
mid. There's no air turning. It's just straight up a jump.
Yeah, and there's also like significant knockback as well. So those games had plenty of moments where you're like close to an edge, you get knocked over by Medusa, and then like knocked back off a cliff. But yeah, very much enjoying my time. Like, I mean, it was a relatively cheap game. I think it was like 15 Australian dollars. I think it retails for like $9.99 USD. And it is genuinely a good game. There's a lot of throwback to games of that era. I think Zelda 2 is an inspiration in terms of like level design. Obviously Castlevania 1 and 2. But I'm enjoying it. I think it's a good throwback. I'm playing it mainly on the Portal. I'm about halfway through the game. I think there's 21 stages. I'm about 10 or 11 stages through. It is very difficult though. I'm finding myself needing to use... So there's a password system. Like there's a life system through the game. And then there's a password system. So like, you know, if you completely lose all your lives and you don't want to start the whole game again, you could, you know, put the password in to kind of pick the stage that you were on before and go from there. And there's other things you can do. There's difficulty modes. There's permanent upgrades. But yeah, I think, you know, I don't really have too much to say. I think if you're a fan of retro games and a fan of, you know, the way that those games actually felt to play, I would recommend it. I don't know if you've seen much of it. If you have any thoughts, if you were planning on picking it up or anything.
I wasn't planning on picking it up because I remember the trauma I had from playing Castlevania after you told me to play Castlevania 1 and 2 and I played them on the mini NES.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm so happy that game had load states and save states because...
And a rewind feature.
And a rewind feature because that game is brutal. And if it's anything like that, it sounds like something that it would stress me the fuck out.
Yeah.
But I actually really enjoy that little trope how it has a password system because, I mean, people don't know this, but the reason a password system used to exist in video games because it was, you know,
there was no save.
data. So with the little notes section in the back of a manual used to just be, here's your password for this stage. You know, you've died. Please re-enter this password. Mm-hmm. And it's cool how it has that password system to pay homage to the classics. I quite like that.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference between, say, this game and, say, like a Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, right? Where it's like, that plays like a modern interpretation of an older game. Like, it doesn't feel and look like a game you could, you know, kind of get away playing on the NES. Now, it's not to say Saint Slayer is like an NES game. I think Colin had mentioned on his show, like the size of the game is like the size of all NES games combined.
Oh wow.
But it plays like it shows homage in more than ways than one. And I think that's the split in the road, right? You kind of go, we want to keep it feeling like an old game versus just looking like an old game. And I think they balanced that well enough. I mean, it's not for everybody. I think if you haven't got like a connection to that style of game, you're not going to like it. And it is extremely difficult. I don't know if I'll end up finishing it, but I'm just a massive Castlevania fan. I like the whole Catholic Gothic horror design. So yeah, something I'd recommend. It's cheap enough. So that's Saint Slayer Spear of Sacrilege. But the other game, the big one, Pragmata, is where I've been spending a big chunk of my time. So this is the newest release from Capcom. God, I'm hearing them referred to. Like if you think this year alone, Resident Evil 9, Pragmata, Monster Hunter World 2, or Monster Hunter Stories 2, sorry. And then they've got Onimusha releasing later this year. They seem to be on a really good run. But yeah,
they are.
Pragmata is the newest game out of Capcom. Like I said, it's a new IP, which is really appreciated. It's a third-person action game, but it does have this uniqueness to it in the sense that you essentially play as a character named Hugh, who's sent to the moon. There's this kind of colony up on the moon, and they basically have this ability to essentially 3D print things. And a little tropey in the sense like it's like, oh, the AI's taken over and kind of killed everyone on the base, and you kind of go in sent to fix something, and then it all kind of falls apart pretty quickly. And this is all in the first 30-40 minutes of the game. It's not spoilers. And so yeah, Hugh who obviously lands on this moon base, things kind of go awry, right, and then you basically connect up with a character who's called a Pragmata, called Diana. Well, that's the name Hugh gives, this character. This character's got like a really AI, like, I am D135, whatever. And the big kind of selling point to the game is that it is, like I said, a third person, I guess, shooter. But the big draw in is the uniqueness of the gameplay. So essentially these AI bots that you face can't be damaged by just shooting them. So, really early on you try to shoot like an enemy and it's like one damage. You're like, oh my goodness, what am I supposed to do here? And essentially you use Diana to hack the enemies, exposing them, opening them up. And then that's where you use the guns to kind of, take down the enemies. In terms of like how that all works, and that's where the uniqueness kind of sits, is that Hugh will, aim using L2, playing on PlayStation, to kind of like aim your gun towards the enemy, and it'll open up like a hacking, essentially a mini game that pops up on the screen. And then you use the face buttons and square, triangle, cross, and circle to move up and down this grid, essentially like going through certain nodes to this green icon. And then what that will do is like open up the enemy for you to shoot with your gun. And then as the game kind of progresses, you got different nodes to go through, different combinations of nodes. There's different weapons that, some weapons like will shrink the grid down a size to make it easier to hack these enemies. And I've got to admit, it's really gripping me. It was a bit odd from a story perspective early on, so it kind of does this like weird thing. It's like a trope of like, they set up Hugh as this guy is like, I don't really like kids, whatever, and then it's like you run into
the classic. Yeah. It's the PlayStation.
Yeah,
trope.
The thing, but it doesn't do what I expected it to do, because then he meets Diana, and the weirdness becomes how quickly they form a friendship. Like, it's literally the one scene, and then all of a sudden he's acting like, this is my daughter. Like they've just formed this relationship fairly quickly, which was in the beginning kind of like a bit weird in terms of how quickly it happened. But as time's gone on, I think I'm about 6 hours in the game, so I'm about 50% through. It's very like humble. Like, I just kind of think we've seen the whole, you think of Last of Us and Joel and Ellie, it's like they don't really like each other, and then by the end it's like, this is my daughter, I'll do anything. This is a bit more lighthearted. Considering this guy's like on a space, depot place, abandoned, that's run by AI, it's actually very lighthearted and like kind of humble in terms of like some of the stuff. And you know, Diane is exploring and finding things out for the first time, and is explaining, you know, what it's like on Earth. You see some things from Earth on the moon and things like that. But yeah, I think it's just it's rare to kind of get this new IP, a new IP kind of come out from any team. But yeah, it's just fun. I think the gameplay hook is really, really strong. Well, the story's kind of like okay, it's the gameplay hook that's kind of really cool.
Yeah, it's nice to see the game that's doing well that isn't based off a sequel or remake or, you know, all the an existing IP, all that jazz.
Yeah, and I don't know if you remember, this game was announced alongside the PlayStation. Like this was part of their 2020 first showcase for PS5. So it's been in development for a very long time.
Shit, was it that longer?
Yeah. And you know, some things have kind of come out since the game's released. Like I think this is made by a fairly young team out of Capcom. I mean, they pulled it off, and I imagine the delay was heavily tied to like getting the shooting hacking kind of thing working. Because, you know, if it leans too heavily to the hacking, it kind of gets a bit awkward to shoot. Because it did take a little bit of time to adjust, like pulling up the gun and then hacking the enemy, then shooting. You know, and now, you know, 5-6 hours in, I've gotten to the point where I can, like, hack the enemy whilst shooting, like, once I've exposed them, shooting, and then initiating the second hack. So, as you progress, the hacking doesn't just open up the enemy. You can actually damage the enemy by doing it. So you get into this really cool flow of, like, hack, shoot. And then as you get better at it, it's like hack, shoot. Whilst I'm shooting, I've got the grid up and I'm also enacting the next hack. And then you're taking down enemies pretty quickly. But the game's doing well. I think it's already crossed over 1 million sales. And I don't know if you saw, it was the number one best-selling physical game in the UK. 79% on PlayStation 5, which I thought was interesting. 15% on Switch 2 and 7% on Xbox.
I completely forgot it was even on Switch 2.
Yeah, I mean Capcom, right? They Resident Evil 8 or 9, sorry, is on Switch 2 as well. So they seem to be heavily supporting the Switch. But yeah, very much enjoying my time. Looking forward to, you know, continue to play it. The story's slowly starting to get a little more interesting, which is good. But again, probably similar to your TMNT, if I had to put a review on it, I would probably land at like an 8.5. I think it's a really great game.
Yeah, nice. It's definitely something I want to play. I think I'll play it when it sounds like it's going to be hard, but if there is a dip in games I'm interested in playing, but I don't know when that's going to happen. There's so many games coming out, but I'm trying to have this habit of not playing anything new if I've got existing content. That being said, I just picked up a $5 game, but you know what I mean.
I was doing it today where I was planning my like pathway through the year in terms of like, you know, get through Pragmata, then into Saros, and then it's like, all right, May, I've got 007, like start like planning my way through my year, which I mean,
you had a stint last year where you bought like 4 games in a month,
and
you bought like Final Fantasy Tactics, and you completed all those games.
I somehow find the time, considering like I don't have time, I find the time, but I don't have many other hobbies. That's the difference. If I, you know, was also into like, if I was playing sport on one night, also had the kids, also played games, also watched TV. I don't watch TV. That's a big thing. I don't watch shows. If I'm not consuming game content, I'm playing a game. That's really like my thing.
That is your one hobby. Whereas for me, like, sorry, I just caught myself in the camera. I look so tired. For me, I watch a lot of stuff. I play a sport, and I mean, I don't have kids, but I play a sport. I play basketball. I try to train when I can, but it's getting grimmer and grimmer every single time I try to go to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
So it's rough, but yeah, but things I'm watching right now, like I just finished the season finale of Invincible. So,
so is that the end, right?
Nah, so that's literally the halfway point of the show.
Oh, right. So is that season 5?
Season 4.
4. Okay. I need to catch up on that. I've only ever finished the first season, and I did like it.
Oh, I really enjoy it. I mean, the hard part was between season 1 or 2, there was such a long time. I think it was almost 2 years.
Yeah,
And then every season after that has been a lot
quicker.
more quicker. Like, yeah, within the year. And then I am watching The Boys. Which
Yeah, me
is
too.
that's up to the final season.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then Sam and I are currently rewatching Supernatural because it's a comfort show for us.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a comfort show for many. Yeah, like I said, I don't really like. I'm watching The Boys as well, but I think for me, it's kind of like
You won't go out of your way to your downtime would be like, oh, I'm gonna watch I have the option of like, oh, I don't really feel like playing games. I'm gonna watch a show. You're like, you are. I don't feel like playing games. I'm gonna watch a podcast about games.
about video games. And it's funny, like people assume I like listen and watch a lot of like a certain thing. I find myself, and I've said this for a very long time. I've been very consistent with it. I find myself drawn to Xbox content more than I do PlayStation. I listen to one PlayStation.
You already know all the PlayStation.
Yeah, oh, it's not even that. It's just that like I'm in it. I'm reading about it so much. I listen to the one PlayStation, or technically two PlayStation shows, including our friends. So two PlayStation shows, but most of the content I absorb is Xbox stuff and Nintendo to a lesser degree because I'm like a level separated from that and I like to kind of be across it. But yeah, with PlayStation stuff, it's like, well, I can probably come to a similar conclusion or form an opinion on my own. But yeah, that's where I spend my time. But
actually, you know what? Let's just quickly the Xbox changes over the last. I mean, with the new CEO coming in, she has made a buttload of changes in the last what I feel like in the span of 2 weeks. I can't remember when she actually came into power.
Yeah, a month ago. Yeah.
Yeah, about a month ago. But I feel like she's like this is a tangent. I'll quickly talk about this now.
Go.
But in the sense of the tangent, like she's got some wins. Like she's already first off changed the Xbox logo, and everyone on the internet just exploded. She went back to that green. Changed Microsoft Gaming back to Xbox Gaming. Lowered the price of Game Pass.
Achievements,
like
changes to achievements.
The achievements, like wins across the board. I feel like everyone was skeptical with Phil Spencer leaving and everything. Be like, oh, what are they going to do? They've lost their identity. She's killed it.
Yeah, I think she's doing a good job. I mean, I've worked in corporate long enough to know like this is what you do. Like when you've got like skepticism in market. Like I work, without giving it away, at like one of Australia's largest ASX listed companies. And I've worked in corporate my entire career. It isn't unusual to have someone new in and the first thing they do is like, all right, what are the quick wins, right? So I'm very much, I think what she's done is she's made a lot of quick wins, right? Changes to achievements, changing the logo, renaming or rebranding back to Xbox. She's also saying a lot of the right things, like they're going to reassess their approach to AI, reassess their approach to Xbox exclusives, which is an interesting kind of thing. I think I think this is a longer view, right? Because I think when Phil Spencer took over from Don Matrick, he was also doing a lot of the right things and saying the right things, and we saw some great momentum. So it's really like the long tenure that I'm mostly interested in. The one thing that I'm like, we need to just relax a little, is like, I've seen photos floating a lot online of like her like photoshopped like as a queen or some sort of messiah. And I'm like, all right, let's just, like using AI, I'm like, let's just not fall for the same thing that happened with Xbox, where it's like people feel like they had this relationship with the bosses and the CEO of these companies. Like, let's just wait and see. But I definitely think she's making the right choices, and I think it's probably a good thing to have someone in that role that isn't from the gaming world, because they can make decisions that aren't based on some level of bias, right? It's kind of like
like trends or anything like that.
Yeah.
And it's funny when you talk about Phil Spencer taking over Don Matrick, and my brain immediately went to the Dark Knight quote. You either die a hero.
Or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Yeah, and that's an important thing because you think about what he did very early on, right? He decoupled Connect. He lowered the price. He introduced Game Pass, acquisitions of teams. Really good stuff. But ultimately, money always wins, and Microsoft always wins. So I think, realistically, what I think's happened is maybe additional pressure was applied to him and Sarah Bond to kind of squeeze them out, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I think they realized that to make these changes, it can't really come from the... You can't have Phil and Sarah there. Well, specifically Phil, because there's always an interview someone's going to point to and be like, but you said this last year, or you said this 2 years ago. Where if we have someone new... Like, could you imagine if Phil Spencer came out and said, we're pulling Call of Duty out of Game Pass? And the reaction to that?
Yeah.
Very different.
They want his head. They'll want his head.
Yeah, very...
Whereas if someone's new coming in as new position of power, new CEO, they're like, hey, we've reevaluated. We think pulling Call of Duty out of Game Pass is a really good idea because they can therefore lower the price. And then everyone's like, well,
there's no...
You kind of just...
Yeah, you haven't said anything to kind of go,
exactly.
But you said this. So I think they're definitely doing the right thing. I think their reapproach to exclusivities are probably not a bad thing. I don't think... Like, very quickly on that, I don't think you're going to see a return to exclusivity. I think what you will likely see is maybe, like, not as aggressive in the way that they've done it. Because they're doing things that I don't even think most people would have imagined, right? Like, it's different to say, like, our games will come to PlayStation, or they will come after 6 months or 12 months, but to, like, have Halo announced and the guy's wearing a PlayStation t-shirt, like, it's a bit aggressive. You know... If I was Microsoft, I said this in a tweet. I said if I was running Xbox right now, the decision I would make is this: multiplayer games, day and date across all platforms. Single player games, timed exclusivity. We will announce the game. We will announce it as a launch exclusive. So people will immediately get the impression that it's coming to other platforms. And I'd leave it at that. And then in 6 months' time, hey, this game's now coming to PlayStation and Switch. It's releasing in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Don't have your guy coming out with the PlayStation t-shirt. But anyway, that's just a bit of a you know, it's big news. That's what everyone's talking about. So yeah, overall, I think she's making the right quick wins. And we'll just continue to watch it. I mean, Sony's making mistakes all the time. I don't know if you heard Shuhei Yoshida was in Australia and he actually made a comment which was kind of like semi-confirmed, but now it's like confirmed that like Jim Ryan basically was trying to force him to make these, you know, games as a service pivots, and Shuhei said no, and Jim Ryan basically said, all right, well, you're either stepping into this head of indies role or well, it's time to go. You know, so like Sony's not absolved from making stupid decisions. Like, they do it all the time.
Yeah,
so
they can make some doozies.
Yeah, but we'll talk about PlayStation another time when we do our Armchair CEO episode of PlayStation. But let's move on. Let's move on to the segment we call Perfect Parry, where Vinny and I try to predict the Metacritic scores of the next latest and greatest upcoming release across all platforms. So, to catch everybody up, the way it works, Vinny and I both try to predict the Metacritic score of a new release. Yes, the rules will be appearing up on the screen. If you were to predict it on the nail on the head, bang on. If you get it right.
Yeah, bang on. Yep.
10 points. And then from every number aside of, you know, up or down by 4, you're getting either 4 points, 3 points, 2 points, 1. So for instance, if you predict 80 and it's 80, you get 10 points. If I were to say 83, well, that's 2 points.
Yeah.
Got that right. So, to catch everybody up, we initially did Crimson Desert, but where we were up to last was Pragmata and then Saros. So if you're keeping up at home, these games, you know, due to timing of the show, hadn't released by the time we did the Saros prediction. So we're actually going to cover off 2 games today. Before we head into our newest prediction. So, Pragmata released at a 86 Metacritic. Vinny had predicted 85, where I had landed on 84. So, great points on the board there, Vinny, with 4 points allocated I only got 3 points for predicting Pragmata, and I would agree. I kind of said 8.5, so I think that's pretty close to where I would have put it myself. Saros releasing 3 days from time of recording on PlayStation 5 out of Team Housemarque Studios, the spiritual successor to Returnal. Vinny had predicted 84. I had predicted 85. The game has actually gotten a 88 on Metacritic, which is awesome to see. I'm super excited to pick up Saros. I don't know if you remember, we kind of said like it can either go two ways. It's either going to be like, oh, they've kind of diluted the Returnal formula.
Yeah.
Therefore, we're giving it a lower score. Or for those who like found Returnal too hard, it's like they fixed the things we didn't like about Returnal. Therefore, it's better. And it seems like that's where it's landed. So Vinny, 1 point there, 2 points to me on Saros. So score-wise, I am on 9 points. Vinny on 5. So only a few points behind. I think one correct guess will basically.
That's it. That's what I'm banking on. One correct guess can just swing it.
That can absolutely swing it. But the next game that we're going to try to predict is Lego Batman: Legacy of the Dark Knight, releasing May 22nd. So a few weeks from time of recording. So this might be similar to the whole Pragmata Saros approach in terms of we might have 1 or 2 games that we're predicting before this one pops up, but.
Yeah.
Vinny, talk me through. I think it's my turn to predict first, but just talk to me about the game, your hype levels. Is this something you might pick up and play? Yeah, how are you feeling?
See, this is the hard part about like a Lego Batman game or like a Lego game in general. I generally think that they're quite fun, and I have played them in the past. Like Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, I played that one. I quite enjoyed it, but that was also. I found that more of a co-op game. I didn't find myself really invested in the story. Same with Lego Marvel Superheroes. I find they're probably honestly a bit outside my, like, I'm just not in that age gap of where I'm going to enjoy it. If I play with a loved one or a niece or a nephew and they want to pick it up and play it, I'll happily be alongside it. It's something I can enjoy in that aspect. But in terms of me purchasing this game for myself, it's not really something I'm going to pick up.
Yeah.
But what about you?
Yeah, I'm similar. I mean, it sounds really good. Like, from what I heard, it's kind of like the combining of, like, the Arkham games and some of the Lego games before it, combining all the Batman worlds and lore, and retelling that story. For me, in terms of, I guess, for Metacritic, I mean, Traveler's Tales and the TT games have released Lego games for a very long time, and they kind of range in terms of quality. You've had Lego games released on the kind of low 70s, late 60s, all the way up to kind of like early 80s, 81, 82 from some of like their Star Wars releases. This to me very much seems like it is a cut above perhaps some of the Lego games of the past. So I am going to guess 86.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, as my Metacritic
for a Lego game
prediction. Yep.
Wow. I didn't think I'd see I wouldn't say I think a Lego game being higher than 85, but 86 is a high bar. You have some faith in this.
Yeah.
Oof. I'm going to have to go with an 84.
84. Interesting. Yes. I mean, I think we're both in the ballpark. I think it's going to be mid-80s, whether it's like 85, 84, or 86. Is up in the air, but,
I guess it's also, and there's a little bit of controversy with a certain game that I was looking forward to, that when the reviewer doesn't enjoy the game, they then give it, the infamous
7 out of 10. Or 6 out of 10.
7 out of 10, too much water.
Well, I think Saros, for instance, got a 7 out of 10 from IGN. And so did Mouse PI. I think got a 6.
That's the one I was actually. It's got a 6.
Yeah. So, and that matters too, because IGN, for instance, is weighted much higher than other reviewers in terms of the Metacritic ranking. So it does have an impact. But then again, Saros, still got an 88. So we shall see. But yes, 86 is my guess. 84 for Batman: Legacy of the Dark Knight, or Lego Batman. All right, moving along. to our kind of main topic of discussion, and that is cross-media gold rush. The idea of video games turning into movies / TV shows, TV shows or movies becoming video games. Vinny, before we kind of kick into the topic, what's your, I guess, background or experience in terms of like video games? I don't know about you, but I can remember some distinct video games that I had played, particularly on PS2 and PS3, that were based on movies. And there were examples of these games being really, really, really surprisingly good. And then there was examples of these being really, 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 really bad. So I just thought maybe we start there to kind of ease ourselves in. Like, do you have any memories or experience with some of these, good or bad, kind of cross-media movies becoming games? Take it away.
I actually have a really good, I think we spoke about it in our early podcast episode where it was like a game that defined us. I think for me, one of the games that defined me was Toy Story 2 on the PS1.
Yes.
That's So that game for me, based on a movie, Toy Story 2, has cutscenes from the actual movie in it as a way to drive the narrative of the game in the search for Woody. But the actual game itself, I loved. It was a good 3D platformer. It actually has a big cult following as well. Like I said, there was one guy remaking it to some extent with like Unreal Engine 5. So it was nice to know that I wasn't the only one who enjoyed the game. But there is some love for these games based off, movies or like any existing IP that in any other form of media, like the Rugrats game that I used to like.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the Rugrats in Paris, the movie game, which I also played, which is PS1. I feel like the PS1, PS2 era was the perfect time for this.
I need to find those games on PlayStation 1.
Yeah. And then, and like even the Harry Potters, the Harry Potter 1 and 2s. I mean, it's funny because you look at the Harry Potter, I think there's like 3 Harry Potter 1 games that are all made by different developers.
Yeah, there's one for like the Game Boy Advance, one for the PS1. I even think there's a PS2 version, yeah.
Yeah, so it got remade again for the GameCube and PS2. But I always had, like for the most part, I always enjoyed them. I always thought them to be quite fun. And it wasn't until, you mature as an adult, you kind of realize that the content isn't there for a video game or the voice acting's terrible or something. But one of the greatest, sorry, it just popped into my head about probably one of the greatest video game titles based on a movie is Spider-Man 2 for the PS2.
Yes.
That is
an
an all-time.
I've lost my balloon. Yeah.
Yeah. That is an all-time. Like, that is the one that made it feel like you were Spider-Man when you were swinging from those webs in the city and going around Central Park and going all around New York. Like, that one, for me, alone, just would spend hours, like, web slinging around New York City.
Yeah. Like,
I have a lot of good memories about video games that are based on other forms of media, but mostly movies. But what about yourself? Got any ones to mention?
Yeah, definitely. It's funny that you talk about the PS1 games because I think that it was an era. So it's funny, like we spoke about a few episodes ago, like the video game crash in E.T., right? That's like a very famous like movie.
Yeah, true.
Turned into a video game, and so that obviously scared off a lot of these brands. But then you kind of saw like a resurgence, particularly in the PS1 era, and that's where you got like Rugrats. That's where you got, even like the Aladdin video game. Hercules. Aladdin for Super Nintendo, but like the Hercules video game, Lion King, Jungle Book, Tarzan. Like they were actually genuinely good games. And I don't know if it's maybe because I was like the right age at the right time, but like, Bugs Life, like I found my...
Oh yeah, I played Bugs Life PS1.
Yeah, and even like, the Simpson games, like the Simpson wrestling games on PS1. But yeah, definitely Rugrats, man, that just unlocked like a core memory. But then even
get those Reptar puzzle pieces.
Yes, but then even going into like the PS3 generation, like a big one that people talk about is like X-Men Wolverine or X-Men Origins Wolverine. That was the Wolverine game made by Raven, who's obviously now owned by Microsoft. But that was like a genuinely good third-person hack and slash game where you played as Wolverine, and it didn't really follow the story of the movie, which was a good thing. But yeah, like there's some really good examples. Like I mentioned Aladdin. Aladdin was like one I remember playing distinctly on Super Nintendo. Actually, I think
Yeah.
I played it on Mega Drive, but it was on Super Nintendo as well. But some of the other ones that people often talk about, the Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
There was a Lord of
Two
the Rings
Towers and
game.
Return.
Yeah, on PS2.
The Returning King game,
Yeah.
fantastic on PS2. But there's another Lord of the Rings title, the Third Age,
Yep.
which is not based off a movie, but that's also fantastic. But yeah, Return of the King was also a very good game.
Yeah, so I distinctly remember memories playing those. So in terms of like good examples, they're the ones that jump to mind. But it's funny, I was just bringing up an article of like the world's, or what like, just an article of like the worst movie tie-ins. And I do remember some of these games. I don't know if you ever played the Dragon Ball Evolution video game, which was like based off
Oh my god, that's
the live action
that's
Dragon
it.
Balls game.
I mean that movie, like, why would you
I know.
make a why would you do that? You had
I had
that
it
movie's
on.
terrible in
I had
itself.
it on PSP. It was. I think the game was released for PSP.
You bought the game.
I think I got it as a gift.
Okay.
Definitely would have got it for a gift because I don't think they would have. He likes Dragon Ball Z. I'm surely this movie tie-in Dragon Ball Z game can't be that bad. But I remember that being distinctly bad. But yeah, there were some like random movie tie-ins, and then like even on PS2, like these just popped up. I remember playing like the Transformers games, like when the Michael Bay Transformer games came out. I think I owned the first and the second, and they were like really bad. It wasn't until we got the High Moon War and Fall of Cybertron that those games got really good. But yeah, Iron Man. I remember playing Iron Man on PS3, thinking surely this can't be bad, but that was really bad. So there is definitely like this scale of like really good and really bad. And like I said, it was like publishers and developers kind of got scared off post ET and that era, came back during NES. You think of like DuckTales and the Batman game. Like, that era was like really good. Yeah. Very similar with PS1. PS2 is where it starts getting shaky, where it's like, all right, now people are back in and just kind of rushing out these games. PS3 gets very much more shaky. And then PS4, it kind of like goes away, and then we don't get movie tie-in games so much. We kind of get like video games in the world of those characters. You don't get the Batman The Dark Knight video game, but you get Batman Arkham, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't get Tom Holland's Spider-Man, but you get the Marvel Spider-Man, for instance, on current hardware. So it's definitely changed the way that we kind of approach it. But in that sense, Vinny, like where do you kind of land on what makes a game adaptable, and going from the other direction now, maybe taking a video game and turning it into a movie or a show. Where do you land on that approach? Because we're seeing some success with some of these movies, right? Super Mario Galaxy. Is it Super Mario? What's the movie called?
The Super Mario Galaxy movie.
The Super Mario Galaxy movie. Mortal Kombat 2, which we're going to go see together later this month.
Yep.
We're seeing kind of successful adaptations. HBO's The Last of Us, the Uncharted movie to some extent. Gran Turismo was quite good. Fallout. Yeah. So in both movies and TV shows, we're seeing success. So what do you think really makes a game adaptable? Like, because it is a different experience, right? Like when you play a game, you're kind of embodying the character. You're making choices. You're moving throughout a world, and you're progressing a story where, that's different to watching a movie or even reading a book. But what do you think it takes to adapt a video game? Like what is it that matters?
Oh yeah, for me, I think if I play a game and I thought they could make this a movie, or better yet, I always feel like they should make something a TV show, because you can always flesh out a lot more of the characters and the story and whatever. But for me, it's always a story. If it has a solid narrative that could be translated without the actual gameplay aspect, then I could see that being a movie or a TV show, for example. So, like, games that are like, it would make it feel like you're playing a visual novel because all the character development is already there. Like, if you take out the gameplay and just looking at, you can watch a cutscene by cutscene thing and understand the plot of the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I feel like that could transition into a good movie. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not going to make a Banjo-Kazooie movie because I'm spending the entire time jumping around collecting puzzle pieces and flapping around with Tui on my back.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like that's going to make a good movie. But there are some times where that can work. Like, Ratchet and Clank was a good example. Like, I wouldn't say a good example. The movie did okay. But, you know, they turned the game that didn't really have a, you know, very... So, like, the movie that was more gameplay than story and turned it into a movie. But I think for me, a strong narrative, Last of Us, Uncharted could work. Fallout has a strong narrative in the sense it is a long game, but it has such deep world building and such deep lore where that works.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not gonna make a looter shooter or a boomer shooter, you know, into a TV show. But I mean, and there's been some bad movies based on games like Doom, Street Fighter. You know,
The old Mortal Kombat movies, which are kind of bad they're good, kind of, from the 90s.
But it's funny when I think about that. It's like the Street Fighter movie as well. You think about, I don't understand why they make movies based on those games where there's next to no story, and it's all gameplay. It's all just fighting combat.
Yeah, so why do Street Fighter?
Yeah, exactly. But they're doing it, and they're doing it again. So
yeah. I mean, Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, right?
Yeah, but their design, it looks like they're writing it. They're putting a lot more effort into it. They're writing a narrative more concise about the world and the universe. And it'd be funny to see a game based on these new movies now.
Yeah, that's funny, right? It's funny to talk about Ratchet and Clank because when that movie came out, that's when we got the Ratchet and Clank remake of the first game. And that did fundamentally change the story. Because I don't know if you remember, like, Ratchet and Clank hated each other initially. It was kind of like a little awkward. But for me, I think, and I agree with you, I think it's the world. It depends on the adaptation, right? Like, we're seeing an era where the creators of the games are heavily tied to the movies. Like, you think of all shows. Like, you think of HBO's The Last of Us, and you have, like, you know, Naughty Dog being heavily connected to that adaptation. And you can kind of go one or two paths. You can go, like Last of Us Season 1 specifically is very much, like, mirrored to the game. But that game's unique in the sense that, like, 95% of video games aren't that close to telling a story in the way that it's told in The Last of Us. That can be so easily kind of picked up and dropped into a TV show. Because that adaptation, Season 1 specifically, was basically perfect. It wasn't until Season 2 where they started making changes where it kind of started getting a little shaky.
I still haven't seen Season 2.
Yeah, I mean, there was aspects of it that was really good. There was a lot of, like, world building that was, like, explored that wasn't in the game, which is kind of cool for someone who knows the game so intimately, just to kind of see, like, new stuff. But I think that show's biggest issue was casting. I think, anyway, that's a story for another time. But I just think that Bella Ramsey she kind of played it okay in Season 1 when it was, like, a young Ellie, but I just didn't buy it for when she's an older Ellie.
Fair.
But that's a great example of, like, a kind of, well, Season 1 anyway, like a really true adaptation. But I think what it takes is the world and the vibe, and less so much the story, right? Because it's kind of like, you think about Mario, or you think about even Uncharted, right? It's kind of like the world that's what's important, and the characters. You can have an Uncharted movie be really good and not have it based on the game, but set in that world, right? You know, similar kind of tropes, similar type of, you know, treasure and all that stuff, but not have it like, and now we're going to El Dorado. You know what I mean? Like, you can play around with that. World is, I think, and characters are super important. For us video game lovers, I think it's the music and the nods to the source material that's, like, really cool. You know, like...
Yeah, the Easter eggs in a sense.
Like Uncharted, when it's like he puts on the kind of, you know, the gun holster and the music starts playing. Come on, that was pretty cool. And then have Sully come in at the end with the mustache. Like, those type of things are really cool. And probably not, you know, really noticeable by the average viewer. So for me, that's where I sit. I think it's world and characters, sound design, those are the things that adapt the best, because I don't think story necessarily adapts well, in the sense that like most games aren't 2 hours. So if it is a movie, somewhat if it's a TV show, it's difficult to kind of get the arc of the characters all in a compressed time frame, because the characters usually go through such an arc, right? You think about now, like with Amazon and they're doing God of War, like that's going to be interesting. Again, it's a series, so there's a little bit more room to breathe. But you know that kind of, you know, Kratos goes through such an arc that it's difficult to adapt that, specifically because in a video game you only follow Kratos. You barely kind of jump to other characters. When you're in a show, you do kind of pivot around to different characters doing different things. So you actually spend less time with the main character than you would in a video game when you're with them for 30, 40 hours.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's kind of my angle. I think it's world, characters, sound, the overall vibe, right? Like Fallout feels like Fallout. Last of Us felt like Last of Us. When it doesn't,
Zelda feel like Zelda.
Yeah, and obviously Sony's making a Zelda movie, which is really interesting. And I just saw
Yeah, that is funny.
Popped up earlier today. I was just searching for it before. Nintendo is currently pitching a Metroid movie, and Sony and Universal are in a close race to win the rights. And this has come from.
And we spoke about Metroid being Metroid would make a good movie. It'd make a good thriller.
Yeah.
But would Nintendo turn it into a thriller? It's a different story.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Like, that's a perfect example where it's like the world, the vibe, the characters are really cool, but the story itself hasn't really been explored deeply in a game, you know, really. Stand down, Metroid fans, because I know it's like, oh, well, actually, there's a comic book series, and if you read all the logs, it actually tells a Calm down. But there is a good story there. And plus, Metroid Dread's arguably one of the greatest Metroidvanias I've ever played. But yeah, that's kind of my approach.
Yeah, so you're more the vibes, you're more the music, the sound, the characters. I'm more the if it tells a good story, then and no gameplay, then it can be adaptable.
Yeah,
cool. I like that we have different opinions on that.
Yeah,
but I also agree with you. I also agree that sound, characters, art style, like all those things are very important. But then you could change in the sense where you could have a movie that's just fun. Like the Minecraft movie, no story, it's just Minecraft. Granted, it was, I didn't enjoy it, but it was a box office success. And and then you have this Super Mario Galaxy movie, which is so incoherent as a story, but there's Birdo, there's Wart, there's Dingo, there's that, there's Fox, there's the and everyone's just like, whoa, your eyes are darting every 2 seconds. And you're like, there's a new character, there's a world, and that's where it contributes to the story itself, not so much, but it's got a lot of world, got a lot of music, characters are there, so that's probably appealing to your to your sense.
What role do you think it has? Like, I think, you know, it's funny, early enough we're talking about Jim Ryan and his stupid decision to get rid of Shu, but he was the guy that kind of ushered in PlayStation, not PlayStation Studios, PlayStation Productions and their movies, and we've seen success there. What do you think is different today, like, versus the way it was done? Because we did get an era where the Super Mario movie didn't feel like a Mario movie at all. And then we did get, you know, the really weird Street Fighter movie, and we did get arguably okay Mortal Kombat movie, and then really bad sequels, and it seems different now. Like, it does seem that there is a lot more care. What do you think's changed? Like, what do you think the reason we're seeing a lot more care?
I think it's because we actually have people who are passionately working on the projects now. So people who have grown up with the games and the show, there's also a lot more, because there's a lot more source material now, there's a lot more research, you can make a lot more sense of it, whereas you pick apart the Mortal Kombat movie from the early 90s, that's what's your source material there, like what's your story, what's your characters. It's just one 2D game with a couple of 2D games that they're just violent, like it's just so. Whereas now it's been a lot more fleshed out, so people can kind of pick and choose, like, oh, we actually like this part of this story.
Scorpion's got a backstory, and, you know, there's a bit more.
there's a bit more source material to work with, and the people who are working on it are the people who probably grew up playing these games now. So they, in a sense of, I want this to be done right. They're not looking for a cash grab, which is another thing where not so much your parents, it was incentivized for your parents to be like, oh, this is advertising for you wanted to convince your parents to take the kid to see the movie, but now I think it's almost like
The parent taking the kids.
the kid, yeah, being like, you are gonna like this movie.
Yeah.
This is gonna be one of the, like, you are gonna like the Mario movie,
Yeah.
and we're gonna play Mario Galaxy, and we're gonna have a great time because it was my favorite game 20 years ago.
You will enjoy this. I agree.
Sit you down.
Yeah, and it's also like the money, right? It's like, you know, it's
Yeah.
it's difficult to ignore video games being like such an entertainment juggernaut. And I agree, it's kind of like people have got passion for the shows or movies. It's a safer bet because it's a known quantity, it's a known IP. There's law already, you know, designed around that. And then there's incentive from the first parties to also do this as well, because it's like a gateway into their IP, right? Like, how many people watch Last of Us hadn't played the game? How many of those people then purchased a PlayStation to play Last of Us? Like, there is a percentage there. And that stuff is where, like, that's really where, like, you know, thinking bigger picture and business stuff, that's where I kind of go when I hear conversations around like sustainability and AAA budgets and things like that. And I'm like, yeah, that's part of it. There's a formula. It's kind of like, you know, exclusive first party game sells less but gets people on PlayStation. They buy stuff on the store. There's that angle to it. There's also like money being pushed into this IP that can be a video game that we can then later adapt into a movie and TV show, and that then spawns different things, right? And it feeds back into the game and blah 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 blah. So I think
Witcher 3 is a great example. Witcher 3 had a spike once the show came out that it peaked in popularity again.
Fallout 76 had the same thing, as well as Fallout 4. It's Last of Us, I think, shot up 200%, like Last of Us Part 2, when Season 1 released, because once that finished, people wanted to know what happened next, and it's like, well, you can wait a few years, or you can pick it up on PS4 or 5 and play it. And that's why we got Last of Us Part 1 remake. It's because it's like, well, we want to have something there for those people. I wanted to also mention one adaptation that I think has done it extremely well, and that is Netflix's Castlevania, both the original run and Nocturne. That is like characters, story, vibes. I actually kind of like the idea of like taking a video game that has an interesting world and lore, but maybe like not a real fleshed out story. Like, again, Metroid's a perfect example. And get someone who really loves it to break it open and really fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
Like, again, please. It's like Metroid should just be an animated show like Castlevania was. Like, it would be perfect. But yeah, I want to shout out the Castlevania series on Netflix. Like, to me, that is probably my favorite adaptation ever done in terms of video games into media. But Vinny, I was interested to hear your view on the reverse, like movies that should be movies that should be games. That's the reverse. Like, is there like, can you think of or TV shows or anything like that? Do you think, can it go the other way?
See, that's hard, where it's like movies, because we spoke about, you know, video game tie-ins or video game adaptations from movies. And I think the hard part is, what can you do that makes, like, is it the world building? Because in that sense, Lord of the Rings has had about 3, 4, 5 games that are based on that kind of world, that aren't really movies based on that aren't necessarily games based on the movies themselves.
Yeah. Like 007 First Light's coming out next month. Like, it's not based off a James Bond movie. Yeah, I think that's the angle if they do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the exact what we're talking about. It's like literally the role reverse for, you know, you don't want to do direct movie 1-for-1 shots unless you got Last of Us where it's perfect narrative. But yeah, you can make an Uncharted movie where Nathan Drake, Sully just go on a quest. The quest does not have to be the same one from any of the games. It can be isolated.
And I think that's the key. I think that's how I would approach it too. It's like, and again, there's live examples of this, 007 being one. It's like, what are these movie franchises where Indiana Jones, for instance, that released
Golden Circle.
2024 on Xbox and then later came to PS5, where it's like, this is an existing character in a world that's obviously heavily tied to movies, but it's like, here's a prequel to Raiders in the universe. That stuff I think is where I would I'd
say I think maybe like an adventure of Back to the Future after part 3.
Yeah.
Like where does Doc go? You know, does he any quarrel or anything in terms of I think another one I had in my head that I just lost. That is really annoying. But oh my god, I've lost it. No. It'll come back to me.
Alright, no worries. Well, I guess as we wrap up, if you could adapt one video game into either a movie or TV show, what would it be and why?
Oh, yeah. So I had to I had to really think about this because there are obviously a lot of easy ones. You think of the most popular thing. You think of the one we think of, anything from like Mass Effect, Halo, items like that, Fallout, Bloodborne, which is apparently wanting to get into a movie.
Yep.
But you know what? Ocean's 11. That's what I thought of when a movie could be based off a game could be based off a movie. The Ocean's series being like heists and like stealth and all that stuff. Anyway, but the game that I think that would make a good movie would actually be Heavy Rain.
Yeah.
Heavy Rain. So for people who don't know, it's like released in 2010 by Quantic Dream. It's a cinematic psychological thriller in the hunt for like the origami killer, which my brain immediately goes to like origami killer. It's a bit a long day, you know?
No, you're right. That's I think how they I think there's a character that has a real New York accent that says it like anyway.
Oh.
Sorry, that was like a 15-year-old, 16-year-old cut. Yeah.
I mean, it's been so long since I played it. But it going through like the four protagonists, almost giving a what's it called? A Pulp Fiction kind of effect. You could do it like that. And then also the butterfly effect. So I thought that would make a really cool cinematic style of movie. Psychological thriller, or even a mini series. My brain's thinking like True Detective. If you ever watched that, it's quite cool. Very dark, very serious. But yeah, that was my one take. I thought this is a deep cut. I wonder if people are gonna hear it.
Mine would be PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. Joking. I think it'd be really cool to see like a HBO Alan Wake.
Yeah, that is a good one.
I think that would be really cool. Like, I think Remedy stuff would translate well. It's funny, they use a lot of live action stuff in their games. But yeah, I think Alan Wake, and it's funny, like, there are several series that I think are already happening, so it's kind of interesting. It's like, Horizon's apparently happening, God of War's apparently happening, I think Ghost of Tsushima's happening.
Yeah.
We spoke about Legend of Zelda, we spoke about Metroid, so a lot of this stuff is already happening. But if we were to flip it as we wrap up, what do you think? I think some things are like you can't translate them. Like, it's just, I couldn't imagine it in my mind's eye, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're hearing in development, it's, I think, not screenshots, not the right word, but leaked set photos have come out of Elden Ring, which I think is interesting. But is there a series or a video game, like Kingdom Hearts is probably a good example of this. It's like, I don't know
ridiculous.
how you
don't make that.
You wouldn't do it. My mind went to Final Fantasy initially, 7. Unless it's an anime. That's the other thing. The way in my mind works, maybe this is just a racist thing to think, but it's like, I think that any like high like Japanese, like JRPGs or anything really square, I think translates more to an animated anime series than a live action. And it's not because
All done
it's
in the-
but it's just like
Yeah.
you can't, right? Like it'd look ridiculous. Cloud walking around with this huge Buster Sword on his back that's like, twice his size and 5 times his weight, and Sephiroth with this, the long sword, or that doesn't really that's the style of game where I'm like, I don't see that ever working in a live action.
I think high fantasy is always a struggle to work unless it's done. But that's when I say high fantasy, I mean like that's just on another level. That's like not Game of Thrones. That's literally fantasy plus all these other tropes.
Yeah.
Like I think Final Fantasy 6, like a clown like splits the world in half, and yeah. There's too many things.
And we've gotten really bad Final Fantasy movies before.
Yeah, we have. So look, but we've gotten really bad Street Fighter movies before, but people don't seem to learn.
Yeah, and it just probably proves it
people
can be
chase
done.
the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, all it takes is one good adaptation to prove that.
Yeah.
We can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think those style of games need to be done by the same Eastern
Yeah, I agree.
storytelling.
Like Death Stranding, like
Whereas-
Kojima's like heavily involved in the anime. Like it translates because it's funny. Like those styles of games, art direction wise and character design wise, are actually inspired by anime, right? So it's kind of like it's a natural kind of thing where it's like if you take a real Western game, I mean you can do it. It's like Red Dead Redemption, the anime. That actually sounds pretty cool, but it's like Grand Theft Auto, the anime, doesn't really work. Where you take Metroid, Devil May Cry, Castlevania, Final Fantasy, and you're like, yeah, I think this could work in an anime thing. And it also goes down to, I think, the high spectacle of those styles of games, where it's like translating that to live action is going to just look ridiculous, even with the biggest budget. It's going to be just CGI, like yuck.
Yeah.
Where anime, it's kind of the same thing that we feel about with Power Rangers, right? It's kind of like, just make a really good anime, guys.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's...
Yeah.
Don't get me started.
Don't get me started on that. And then we start about... well, I'll have a little gripe with you because I think I've spoken about this.
You have a
this
gripe
show
with me?
in the... Yeah. My gripe. I'm telling you.
I've got
my
an
gripe
issue with you
something
people,
else.
and now you're going to hear about it.
And you're going to hear about it. No, so I've spoken about this. Percy Jackson.
Yes.
So I'm a big Percy Jackson fan, big fan of Greek mythology, big fan of the books. The show sucks. The show is just absolute exposition through and through because they can't do the live action well. They can't do the mythological creatures, the combat, the style of show that the book is. It would have made a fantastic cartoon. Anything that could really, like, it's unrealistic, but it is realistic. You know what I mean? Like, I think of The Last Airbender, where it would have been that kind of style, or Voltron, where that style of cartoon or anime, Western cartoon, it would have been perfect for, and it would have been successful.
Yeah.
And because it had such a high story behind it, but some adaptations just can't be live action.
Yeah, you say that though, and I agree.
Stop trying to make it happen.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, sorry. Not everything can be live action when there's a budget.
Yes, I agree. But then there are examples of that happening. Like One Piece is apparently quite good. And I'm like, that is like the weirdest thing to adapt in terms of like how anime it is. But it's got a second season. People seem to like it online. So, I mean, and that is an anime, like that would be on the same level as like some of the video games. I'd say like you can't really adapt that to live action. Like it's just weird. True. But they pulled it off.
They've gone full ridiculous with One Piece. Instead of trying to make it serious and stuff, they've been like, what if we just over exaggerate it to the point where it's actually trying to be?
Yeah, we understood who we are, what we're doing. Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's like a delicate balance because it's like, whilst I agree, like Power Rangers, for instance, would make a great anime.
Oh yeah.
There's also examples of like Transformers pulling off giant mechs pretty good. And even like the
Pacific
2017, 2017 movie was pretty good in the character development and the suit stuff. The Megazord stuff kind of sucked, and the story was a bit weird at the end, tone-wise.
Yeah.
But it can be done. So it's like, I think it all goes down to the creators making it, right? And then if a creator can work within a vision and a budget to pull it off, I think anything can be done. It's when... it's when money gets involved, too many chefs in the kitchen, and it's like, let's change the story of The Last of Us. Why not? And it's like, well, you don't do that. Neil Druckmann's, I don't know, he kind of explained why certain things were changed, and it is true to some extent. Like, some things just don't translate, and you need to do things differently because they don't make sense, right? Where it makes sense for a character to react to certain... Like, for instance, right? Like, the big thing in Last of Us Season 2 is, like, there were more scenes when Ellie wasn't alone, right? When she was with Dina and a few other characters. In the video game, it was really cool because you were isolated, you were on your own, and you were surviving through and you're playing the story. It doesn't work in a TV show because Ellie would be talking to nobody, there'd be silence the entire time. So they needed to have her interact with characters for it to make sense. But having her environments where she would have been alone with characters fundamentally changes the way that those scenes play out. And the tone of those scenes sometimes. So it's like a delicate balance. But this has been a really, really interesting topic, Vinny. So thank you for picking this one out. But anything you wanted to kind of say or do as we wrap up?
No, not much. I got some other ones of being like, it's just topic for another day. But my brain always goes to animes that turn into live actions and just never live up to the hype. So, and One Piece is a good example. It will never be as good as the source material. So like,
why do it?
But you're trying to appeal to a wider audience. So I guess that's why they do it. But
yeah, it's kind of weird. It is weird because it's like, are they? Like, who is watching? People are watching Last of Us and Fallout because they don't
play games.
Not only that, when they see it, they don't go, "Oh, this is based on a game." Where I think if you saw One Piece, it's kind of like pretty obvious pretty quickly that this is based on something because it's just ridiculous. But maybe I'm wrong. Like, I haven't seen it, so
yeah. Like the Last Airbender, the Avatar show, the Netflix adaptation.
Yes.
Nowhere near as good as a cartoon.
Yeah.
But it appealed to an audience and expanded the universe to people who don't really watch cartoons in this day and age. So it's like,
that's such a great show, like cartoon, like the original. Like, that's such a good concept. And there's a fighting game. There you go. There's an example of a show translating. There's a fighting game for, and Invincible as well. There's a fighting game coming out. So it's all connected. It's all happening, Jerry. All right, let's get out of here. Vinny, thank you so much for joining
our podcast.
It's always a pleasure having you here, talking to you about video games, life, the universe, and everything else. Again, if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing to our channel, Dodge, Parry, and Roll. We release every second Friday here on YouTube and podcast feeds. And I remember to say that.
And podcast feeds. Yes, thank you. Yes, appreciate it.
Again, consider subscribing. And if you do ultimately choose to subscribe, we're open to taking requests for topics as well. So if there's something specifically that you're like, oh, these two doofuses should talk about this one thing.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I'd love to hear some feedback of our audience members or member. I don't know how many we have.
There's members. There's an S. Don't know how.
There's an S there?
Yeah. There's an S.
Yeah, cool.
You gotta fake it till you make it, Vinny. You gotta pretend like there's a million people listening. If you pretend like there's 10, there will only ever be 10, is what I think. So
it's very profound.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. I surprise myself sometimes. But thank you so much. We'll see you in a fortnight. Vinny, send us away.
May the power protect you.
Goodbye.